it was a very good offensive performance. And yeah, I do think he took the foot off the gas a little bit. But hey, the second team still scored a touchdown too. So I mean, lots of touchdowns. Lots of touchdowns.
I just realized the real issue here, Vince. I didn't hit the go live button on the YouTube, so we are now live on the YouTube stream. I was like looking at these comments in the chat, and I'm like, what are they talking about? And then I look up, and just yet another thing that I messed up today. It is Mulligan Monday for Sean. So Vince was talking about Dylan getting his first points, his first field goal, and extra points at Hillsdale. All those things happened. They didn't happen in YouTube land, but so they happened anyway. Listen to the podcast if you want the full recap. We're in the middle of talking Arkansas. If you're just joining in on the YouTube stream, I do apologize for the craziness, but yeah, I agree. Like it felt like, they come out after doing everything that they wanted to do in the first half. They run all over Arkansas. They throw all over Arkansas. CJ Carr's got a career high, almost 300 passing yards in the first half alone. And he, not that this matters, but he hit the over, his over, like his FanDuel over in the first half alone, and the 4 touchdown passes to go with it as well. There was not much that went wrong. Defensively, it's looking like, okay, well, what's this going to look like? Arkansas drives. Their first drive stalls at the 21-yard line. They settle for a field goal. Ultimately, they do end up with a touchdown in the first half, another field goal in the first half, thanks to a couple of explosive plays. But that's it, 13 points, all in the first half. Like, how confident are you that we've seen this defense turn a corner now after watching them against the Razorbacks?
It's hard to say. I anticipated more of an offensive output from Arkansas than obviously we saw against Notre Dame's defense. That's an absolute step in the right direction. I hesitate to use the word turn the corner just yet. Now, is there like a defining game upcoming that will allow that to happen? Maybe USC, because they are a fairly potent offense, although they didn't really show that against Illinois. But, they've got Boise State next. Okay. I don't know if there's that turning point type team on the schedule. So I think that they're moving in the right direction. I will say that. I'm not 100% convinced yet. There's still some things that they did not do well. There's still some quirks. I shouldn't say quirks. There's still some issues with the play calling,
for sure,
that need to get fixed.
If they looked like, now granted, this is not as good a team as the two teams that they faced at the start of the season. But if they looked even close to this against either of those teams, we're having a completely different conversation right now. So how much of, and we'll get into this a little bit when we hear some of Marcus Freeman's comments, how much is, okay, it is game 4 now, and you've had a chance, to kind of feel things out, and you've had some young guys who hadn't played yet, who maybe have figured some things out. One thing we do know, though, is this was a defense that was giving up almost 33 points and over 400 yards per game, and they held the nation's number 8 offense that was averaging 552 yards to almost 200 yards below their average. And the quarterback, Taylor Green, we talked about, the dual threat guy, he hit the one big run, the 54-yard run, but that was pretty much it. He hit a couple shorter ones, but he was averaging almost 388 yards per game. They hold him about 100 yards below his average. So, what's the worst part about Arkansas's team has been their defense. We saw that again on Saturday. The good part about Arkansas was their offense, and Notre Dame's suspect defense held them in check. So I'm with you, Vince. I'm not willing to say that they've turned a corner, but to your point, I don't think it's, maybe USC, because USC can still score, and they're like, of all the teams the rest of the way, and we've talked about some of the teams that'll challenge Notre Dame, from NC State to BC a little bit. They had a pretty bad weekend themselves. Syracuse, I don't know, but USC is the one with their offense that's specifically going to challenge Notre Dame's defense the most. So I think like turning a corner for Notre Dame's defense probably isn't going to be about one thing, one game, one thing happening like this.
Right.
This is a really good start, though, because of the kind of offense that Arkansas has been. I think it's really just going to be about how you string things together and do you make some incremental improvement over the course of this season. That's to me, like it's going to be more of a macro corner that's turned up rather than micro.
I think that's fair. I think Brian and I talked on the phone as he was driving around Arkansas in the mountains and whatever the heck he was doing down there, yesterday on the way home. And we were talking about the defense, and we were talking about the fact that, I feel like the players are overplaying the scheme. Like there's really good players that are playing in this defense, and they're starting to play better regardless of scheme, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And so like, I think that part still needs to be worked out, and that still needs to be changed and things. But at the end of the day, they're doing what they need to do because they happen to have really good players. The fact that they're running a 12-yard in front of linebackers, that's a problem. But then it has nothing to do with talent. That has to do with scheme. Like that needs to change. You know what I mean?
How many it doesn't matter who the quarterback is or what the team is.
Right.
When Notre Dame is playing the zone and Drake Bowen's got to make that deep drop over the middle, they're just dropping it right over his head every time to the guy. Right. He's 15, 20 yards. Doesn't matter how far he is downfield, what kind of depth he gets. They're just dropping it right over him because there's
that's just not a Drake Bowen problem. You know what I mean? Like that's the
scheme. That's the scheme.
Yeah. So that's a bigger problem because right now Notre Dame's going to be able to out athlete a lot of teams on the schedule. I mean, we've heard about it ad nauseum, right? They're going to be the favored team, throughout and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's great. But that's not going to help you in December when you're in the playoff. You know what I mean? So hopefully they can get better and get good enough throughout these next, 8 games or whatever it is, get to where they need to be so that they are competitive in the playoff. Because the 10-2 Notre Dame will make the playoff, by the way. Mark my words on that.
Oh, okay. We're going to go with that already, huh?
Yep. I felt that way from the beginning. I'm just saying 10-2 Notre Dame is not getting left out of the playoff. I'm not saying they're going to host a game, but they're going to be one of the top 12 teams in the country. I'm very confident in that.
They're going to I don't even want to get into that.
I know. That's an argument for down the line.
We can actually have it tomorrow. I'd rather just have it tomorrow.
Fine.
We've got
that's fine.
To get into today. But it's amazing how quickly Notre Dame won that game. And even on the broadcast, they had nothing else to talk about during the broadcast on ESPN once it became a blowout, and they started talking about Notre Dame's playoff chances. It's because remember last year, I can't remember which game it was, but it was the Georgia Tech game, actually. Remember, they just kept hammering. Remember, they'd put the graphic on the screen and the, ESPN's computer and the, all the chances and all that different kind of stuff. And Indy Forever 72 says they really won't turn a corner until Ash is gone. Could not believe those ESPN announcers actually said Ash was respected by other coaches. Who besides Meyer? That was probably the most interesting comment of the game on.
They're not there to trash coaches. But I
felt like it was a little bit. It's really, do we really have to prop him up that much? We've all seen what this defense is.
Oh yeah, I can't even defend him. I'm not trying to defend him. Obviously, I'm sure he's respected by more than one coach in the entire coaching community. So there's coaches. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm trying to be positive, but he's a problem. There's no doubt about it. He's a problem. Marcus Freeman talked a little bit about it today, about simplifying and all of those different things. Those are all accurate.
I'll play that cut right now because Al Golden and Chris Ash obviously both come from the NFL. Golden came from the NFL. Ash is coming back from the NFL, just like Golden, a little bit different role, obviously, but they both spent a few years in the NFL before becoming coordinator here. And it took Golden a little while to realize that he had to kind of scale some things back from some of the things that he was asking these guys to do because of all, the schemes and the concepts and all this different stuff to, in order to let his players be successful. So Freeman was asked about that idea, about just the fact that because these guys come from the NFL, is there some scaling back, some simplification that is needed?
I just think different coordinators have different philosophies of defense, right? And that's in terms of the tactical aspect of it. I'm not talking about the core fundamentals of how you play the game, block destruction, tackling, those pursuit to the ball. And I think when you have that experience from the NFL, you probably have a lot of answers to combat what an offense does, but answers are only as good as execution. You know what I mean? And sometimes through failure, you got to say, okay, this looks good on paper, but our guys aren't executing at the level we need them to execute. And so I think that's what you saw from week 1 to really week 4, is that they're executing what they're being asked to execute at a higher level. Does that mean that we've simplified? Maybe we've condensed. I don't know if the defensive play calls were that much different, but we better find ways to teach it better. And what you did, you might not notice this, you guys might notice it, but we played with a little bit of different technique in certain positions. And so I think it's a accumulation of all those things, but it's a different kind of philosophy in terms of your answers to what an offense is doing.
So what do you think about that, Vince?
That was a very political way of saying they changed things up, and they're teaching it differently. Okay, that's fine.
Different techniques at some different positions,
and that's your job, right? If you're not, it's like if you're in the classroom and 3/4 of the class is not understanding the topic that you're giving, it's not a student problem. It's a teaching problem, right? If there's 1 or 2 kids that aren't getting it, okay, well, that's a student problem. We'll make some adjustments and we'll do some things with those particular students. This was a classroom problem, right? It wasn't just 1 or 2 people on the defense. It was the whole thing. So it was a coaching problem.
There were much fewer like pre-snap communication issues in this game.
Yes, I agree.
And
we talked about that, right? We talked about what we want to see. Like, I just didn't want to see the confusion pre-snap and all of that. They did a good job of that. That is what we saw. We saw better communication, both on the field and from the sideline to the field, all of those things. So it's really sad that that's where we're setting the bar right now, but that's where the bar was.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like the percentage, I don't know exactly what the percentage man versus zone is. It was still probably fairly balanced, but it definitely felt like we saw more man concepts in there than what we've seen. And we also saw, like Marcus Freeman talked in the pregame on College Game Day. He did that interview with them, and he talked about dominating the line of scrimmage. And I don't know that they were just flat out dominant, but they were pretty good, especially defensively. Were there lapses? Yeah, there were still some lapses. The thing that troubles me, I think probably the most, we talked about Drake Bowen in pass coverage, but like when those linebackers, in starting with Bowen, I think, like, what are they doing on run plays? Because Marcus Freeman has always talked about, we can't play football, we've got to play football. And it just feels like there's still too much football going on with these linebackers, because, like, I'll see Bowen and he'll just sort of bounce around kind of behind the scrum, right, and he's not really doing anything in there. I don't know what's going on with that right now.
I think that's a linebacker problem, not a Drake Bowen problem.
Yeah, no, like, he's the one I was looking at specifically.
And you're not wrong.
He's out there so much.
And you're not wrong. And then he kind of gets swallowed up in the wash.
Yeah.
When you're a linebacker, and Jesse would be a great person to talk about this more specifically, but when you're a linebacker and you're not coming downhill with a point, like with a reason, then you're kind of useless. And
that's what it feels like. It all feels like read and react to me.
Yeah.
Like there's
a problem.
There's this invisible barrier that's in front of them, and they're trying to figure out, where exactly am I supposed to go? A lot of times they're not nearly as destructive as they need to be. Yeah.
Agreed. No, I do agree with that 100%. It worked out better this week because the defensive line was a little bit more disruptive, not as disruptive as I'd like them to be, but they were a little bit better. And then the secondary was better with a healthy Devontae Smith and with a starting Tay Johnson. You know what I mean? So, like, they've made some moves, some guys have gotten healthy, and that definitely helps the situation. So they weren't able to make some of the plays that they wanted to make offensively against this defense. The guys matter. You know what I mean? Like having Devontae out there, having Tay out there as the starter, like those things do matter. And then the defensive line was getting a little bit more pressure. Again, bar was set very low.
Yeah, but I really like what Gabe Rubio has been doing.
Yeah,
he's the standout to me from the last couple of games and against Arkansas specifically. Real quick comment from Marcus Freeman about Notre Dame's secondary playing faster Saturday.
We went into the game knowing we cannot give up the explosive plays that we gave up, the explosive pass plays that we gave up the week before. That can't happen. We got to keep the ball in front of us. And so that was definitely a mindset going into the game, and that could be technique driven. But the other part of it is being situational masters and understanding when you can be aggressive because of the down and distance, right? And that's important. So, again, they played faster. We played man. We played zone. I think what you saw in some zone coverage, we were intentional about working more pattern match type periods in practice. So making sure our guys understand, okay, here's cover 4, here's cover 3, here's cover 2. Okay, what is this offense going to try to do to attack these different coverages? And let's make sure you have clarity on how they're going to try to attack us, right? And then you can be aggressive in jumping routes and things like that. But they played really well.
I think it still is worth mentioning that Leonard Moore obviously was not out there, and they still played pretty well. They also got Devontae Smith back, and I think that helped quite a bit. Having him out there helped quite a bit in that slot. And then people have mentioned Tay Johnson kind of directing traffic. He and Schuler work really well together in tandem. And in terms of like guys that they have played next to Schuler, Tay Johnson just really seems to feel like he knows what's going on the most. And also his athleticism obviously lets him do a lot of things as well.
Yeah, the personnel changes were very beneficial, I think, as well. And I think that was a big part of it. But I think listening to him talk about that is a little bit frustrating because I feel like, well, we want to know what they want to do against certain coverages and blah, blah. Shouldn't you have been doing that all along? Or like that? I don't know. That part bothered me a little bit, not going to lie. But he's right. You know, when you know when you think you know what's coming and you're confident in that, you're allowed to play faster.
So is he just saying having game tape on these guys and kind of,
maybe
having that compared to the first, especially 2 games, like
it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably part of it. He sounds more confident in what they're doing out there, which allows them to be more confident. And so I think that all is beneficial to all of it.
This is a good distinction on, because we were talking about the linebackers, and I think it was Werewolf in the YouTube chat said that Kingston Biliamo-Asa seems to know where he's going. But as I am Tenzin, I am the son of Aang points out, KVA is sent on pressures at a much greater rate. So it's a lot easier for him with a lot of the things that they ask him to do to just go be diabolically physical. And
he's the new Snead, right? Like they used to just send him like, go get the ball, like just go be an athlete. And that's kind of what they're doing with KVA. And there are times where obviously KVA is playing back at linebacker depth and doing all those things, and he does a good job. I'm not comparing the two because I think one is a significantly better linebacker than the other. But to your point, when they're just releasing him to go get the quarterback, you're just going. Like you're not thinking, you're going. So yeah, it makes a big difference.
Wow. Lee 974. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, great to have Vince back in the YouTube.
Appreciate that. That's going right to the medical bills right there.
That's right. Oh, ND Forever 72. He is playing right up my alley. He's making a Pulp Fiction reference here. He says, when summing up thoughts on the defense and Ash on Saturday, when John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson comment on how the car looked so much better at the end after they cleaned the car up, they've got it in the garage and they've cleaned up all the brains and the blood and all that stuff from the inside of the car. They tell Winston Wolf. Wolf tells them his response is something that I can't repeat on the air. But how can I come close? Basically, let's not go patting ourselves on the back too hard just yet. That's a very clean version of it. nowhere near what he actually says, but that's the best reference I can make on the air on a family show that the FCC will also agree with.
Right.
So, yes. All right. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk more. There are a few different comments that I want to get to, including some stuff about CJ Carr against the blitz, and also a couple different things happened this weekend. We had the fake punt against Arkansas, and then someone said the G word at the press conference today. I don't know if you saw or heard this, Vince, but someone said the G word, and Marcus Freeman was not happy about
he was not happy.
We'll talk about that when we return. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. Do you have anything else to say about the defense, Vince, before we shift gears here?
Look, at the end of the day, they gave up 13 points. That's a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can build on that moving forward. That's
Again,
where
to
I'm
a
at.
good offense with an experienced quarterback. The guy's
Yep.
been in school for 5 years. He's been playing for a while.
Yeah, 100%. And we saw what this offense has done in the first 4 games that they had, right? So, I mean, it was a complete dismantling of Arkansas, where Arkansas went into this game thinking they were going to win and thinking that they were going to be able to outscore Notre Dame and all of these different things, and it was over before it got started. So, it was a good game on both sides of the football for sure, and things to build on both sides. But the defense took a step in the right direction. So, again, baby steps. We'll take it.
You know, we talked on Friday about we see more Lou Holtz, Jimmy Johnson, because supposedly Jimmy Johnson was down there. What the references and all that?
See him at all.
I think they showed like one cut to Lou Holtz sitting in his whatever box they had him in. That was all I remember.
I was watching it on my phone, you know, in the car because we were on the move, and I didn't see any of it. So now, granted, I wasn't like, you know, so it was a car situation, but
yeah,
they did not harp on it. It wasn't like, you know, some of these big time national broadcasts where they just keep going to the girlfriend or
again with all the playoff chances and everything else for Notre Dame. You know, in the second half, that became their storyline. You would have felt like maybe they would have said, "Here's Lou Holtz, who coached at both of these schools." You know, like something like that.
I did.
Here's Jimmy Johnson. If Jimmy was there, I don't know. I don't remember him ever showing him.
I never saw him either.
Very prominent alum of that school. Yeah.
I saw a post where he was decked, you know, he meaning Lou Holtz was decked out in all Arkansas gear and the whole thing. And it was obviously some sort of a Q&A or like a media thing. And they asked him pretty much along the lines of who
you rooting for?
Yeah, kind of a deal. He's like, well, one school fired me and the other one built a statue.
Right.
I was like, that's a great response.
Right. As he says it, you know, in front of the Arkansas logos and the Tyson Chicken logos.
And decked out in Arkansas gear.
Right, wearing his Arkansas shirt. Apparently he did have a Notre Dame pin on, you know, with his Arkansas.
Oh, well, he had
he probably had to wear the Arkansas shirt to get, you know, like the free pass into the game.
But he had like a hat, Arkansas hat and a shirt and the whole, you know, I just thought that was pretty funny. That was good. Good answer.
John's asking why Lou Holtz would wear Arkansas gear. He used to coach at Arkansas.
Yeah,
he coached at Arkansas and then Minnesota and then obviously Notre Dame afterwards. That's the Lou Holtz Arkansas.
You got to know your Lou Holtz history. Come on, John.
Right. That's right. We had an Arkansas fan in here in the second hour Friday, and we were getting all kinds of the, you know, like the Jimmy Johnson and Lou Holtz were both up for the job and, you know, all that kind of stuff when Holtz ended up getting it. And
what documentary did I watch?
I think it was in the Dallas Cowboys.
Was it the Dallas Cowboys one?
In there. Yeah.
He was not happy.
No, he wasn't.
He was not happy.
Not at all.
I'd say it worked out for both of them, though.
How about CJ Carr? I think things worked out for him pretty well Saturday.
He just keeps getting better, and I'm not really sure how that's possible.
Scary.
I'm just saying, like, Mike Denbrock also had his best game of the season as well.
Mm-hmm.
The scheme that he had, the plays that he was calling, I mean, CJ Carr was throwing to guys where, remember I said I was watching it on my phone. There were a couple of times, like the touchdown to Will Pauling, there wasn't a red shirt on the screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was throwing some wide open guys. Now,
there was one time, I can't remember if it was third, it was over the middle. Like Carr was kind of in the pocket, and then all of a sudden it's just freaking Malachi Fields wide open about 12 yards downfield, and he turns it into a 20-something yard gain. Yeah, just like wide open.
It's like, I mean, granted, he's got to throw to the open guy. He's got to make the play. He's got to make those throws and do all of the things that previous quarterbacks at Notre Dame could not do. Because you and I have sat in the press box on level 9 at Notre Dame and seen guys running wide open and the ball doesn't go to them. Right. So there is some of that involved. Right. But he was completing the passes he should complete. And I mean, he had almost 300 yards going into halftime. I mean, I don't know. There was a couple of questionable, like he still needs to not throw the ball as he's getting sacked. Just take the sack, you know, some small things like that. He tried to push it in double coverage a couple times. But man, it's just it's like poetry in motion, man. It's fun to watch. Sean, can you hear me? Oh, somebody might be frozen. I'm not sure if it's me or I'm not sure if it's Sean. Anybody in the chat wants to let me know who you can hear and who you can't. I thought maybe he was just focused on the chat there for a second. Look very concentrated. So Sean is frozen in the chat. Oh, and he's gone, and I'm the only one left. So he'll be coming back, and it's probably means I'm not on the air for the radio side, but on the air with you guys here in the chat. I mean, look, if you want to talk about CJ Carr, we could talk about CJ Carr for the next hour and 20 minutes of the radio broadcast, because CJ Carr is just getting better and better and better. He is poised. He is looking guys off. It is something else what he's able to do, and he doesn't look rattled in the pocket. And he actually did have time to make all of these plays and make all of these adjustments, and going one way and the other. And I mean, it was as Chem36 says in the chat, dude's a stud. He's 100% a stud, and it's a fun thing to watching CJ Carr just dice up defenses, and he's going to keep getting better. This offense is going to keep getting better. It's a lot of fun to watching the maturity level of this offense as a whole, and how they are adapting to CJ Carr and the catchable ball that he throws and all of those different things. So, hey, Sean.
Hey,
welcome back.
Well, we got the YouTube back. I was digging out my laptop. I was going to see if I could get on my laptop and get in. Apparently something happened with our internet momentarily here at the radio station.
I thought you were just very focused on the chat. You were like reading something. I was like, I think he's gone.
It's been a day, Vince.
Yes,
it's
it has.
been a day.
Yes, it has. Well,
I haven't even told you the crazy thing that happened to me.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't get a chance to do that before the show started because enough other things were going wrong. So, here we are. We're back on the air. Vince is still. Thanks for keeping things going on the YouTube while I dropped out there. I don't know how long it took you to figure out that I was gone.
Not very long, because you didn't move. You were frozen solid, so
yeah,
figured it out pretty quickly.
Yep. The screen turned black and the wheels started spinning here.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Well, let me play this. We were talking about CJ Carr.
Okay.
Carr played in his fourth career game against Arkansas Saturday, new career high passing yards and in touchdowns by halftime. So this question was asked of him today. He was 11 of 14 passing when he was blitzed by Arkansas in that game. And Freeman talked a little bit. Hang on a second. I had this.
It all went away when you went away.
That's right.
It was all down there.
Had this ready to go before I got bumped. Here we go. So Marcus Freeman talked about that. CJ Carr against the blitz.
Yeah, I think the protection was so important, right? You guys give me crap for loving up those O-linemen, but there is no great quarterback without protection. And they protected him, but you got to be in the right protection, right? The protection is also, protecting is a physical word, right? Got to protect our quarterback, but it's also a schematic term. Like, we have to be in the correct protection, and that's something that CJ was able to do. You can see a pressure and say, okay, I want to change the protection to pick up that pressure. So I thought he did a great job of recognizing the pressure. Our O-line did a good job of protecting him and executing what protection call we had to give him time to, again, like I said, if you're going to bring pressure, right, and I know this from the defensive side of the ball, you're asking your guys to cover for less time than you do if you only bring 4. And so when you bring pressure and we can pick it up and protect our quarterback, it gives him time to throw it.
One, I like how Marcus Freeman knows that he's getting we're giving him a hard time for picking on the offensive line.
There's nothing wrong with giving, because he said you guys give me crap for giving love to the offensive line. There's nothing wrong with giving love to the offensive line when it's deserved.
When it's due. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe we're all just rolling our eyes when he talks about it. I don't know. But I mean, that does it amaze you how unfazed CJ Carr is? For again, this is game number 4.
Yeah.
These are his numbers. So he was 11 of 14 against the blitz against Arkansas. For the season against the blitz, Carr has completed 65% of his passes. He's 32 of 49, 418 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's according to PFF. When he's not blitzed, he's only 1% better, 66% compared to 65%, 39 of 59, few more yards, 673, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Does it amaze you how good he is considering the inexperience that he's got, that he's able to do this when he's blitzed at this level?
He's breaking all the rules, right? He's breaking all the rookie rules. Like there's certain things you're supposed to expect of a first-year starting quarterback, right? You're not supposed to do great against the blitz. I mean, what's every defensive coordinator want to do when they know that they've got an inexperienced quarterback? You want to put him under pressure, make him speed things up, make him, make some decisions that they don't want to make, all of those different things. It doesn't faze him. Like he steps into the pocket. He's got good footwork in the pocket. He holds on to the ball. Whereas sometimes you're like, man, just get rid of the ball. He's holding on to it too long. Well, he's doing that because he's allowing his guys to get open, and then he actually throws a catchable ball and moves the chains. Like I don't know, man. I am not, as a Notre Dame fan, as a Notre Dame analyst, I'm not used to this, Sean. I am not used to watching quarterback play like this. I'm more than happy to get used to it, but I'm just not used to it. And I mean, he's just playing at a kind of a different level as a passer. And then, if he doesn't want to pass or, Denbrock doesn't want to pass, handing it off to 4 and 24 does not hurt the situation.
Not a bad alternative.
Yeah.
And again, it's just so scary what this offense can still be, because like, hey, we talked, even though Jeff Stevens thinks that all we talked about last week apparently was a certain wedding that's coming up this week. And I think that, I would probably beg to differ about that. He also wonders why we didn't talk enough about the Bears beating down the Cowboys on Monday. Well, we were coming off a Notre Dame win. So
we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like off the air, we talked about it.
Right. Like there were other things to talk about.
And you and I and Jesse, we're all good friends, but I didn't feel the need to rub it in because it's not like the Bears are a good football team. So they're, every dog finds his tail every now and again. You know what I mean? So it's like, there was not going to be that.
Yes. One, I'm more appreciative that Vince is getting closer to full health again. 2, I'm appreciative of both Jesse and Trevor and Bobby pitching in extra last week while Vince was gone to help out. So, maybe the conversations weren't always what you thought they were going to be. I felt like we still had a lot of Notre Dame talk on last week.
100%.
The wedding come up a couple of times, of course.
Hey, man, like it's this weekend. It's
right.
Your kid's getting married. That's okay to talk about, by the way. But yeah, I wasn't going to rub it in.
Bad guys, Jeff. I'm the bad guy. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, though. I missed the very end of the game last night, and I maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later. But my goodness, I didn't realize it ended in a tie until I woke up this morning. Yeah. I saw them go to overtime, and I was like, I just can't do it anymore. I had to go to bed, and they woke up into a tie. Ugh. Did you stay up for the whole thing?
Yes, Vince.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah. A tie in the NFL has got to be, that's one of the worst outcomes possible. I really wish you couldn't end up in a tie. I really do.
I'm going to be honest with you. A tie in that game last night literally hurt me worse than getting their brains beaten out by the Bears.
Yeah, I get it.
Part of it was because they scored 40 points. It's like, that's against the good defensive team. Where was that against the team that was supposed to be the bad defensive team last week?
Right.
Talk about your team, of course.
No, 100%.
You were telling me how bad their defense was, and I'd seen it myself. Like, that hurt last night. Okay, you get the touchdown, you're ahead, but there's 43 seconds left.
God. 43 seconds. Sound familiar? The defense just allows them to go right down the field.
Jesse, they scored too freaking soon. We've been waiting for a touchdown, and they scored too soon.
Mm-hmm. I know. I know.
Now we don't have to talk about it in rapid fire.
All right, we got plenty to talk about there.
We're gonna take our final break, and then I want to come back. Might have to save the G word for rapid fire. I don't know. We'll either get the G word out or we'll do it in rapid fire. One of the two, depending on how much time we've got left. I love all y'all. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. All right, I want to play this. Been teasing this G word. Got like multiple things playing here. Everything's got a life of its own today. I might as well just be a marionette and have someone flail my arms around and what it feels like right now. So, Marcus Freeman today at his press conference was asked about defensive lineman Cole Mullins getting in against Purdue last week and then more against Arkansas this week. But when the question was asked, the Purdue time was referred to as garbage time when the question was asked, for lack of a better term, as it was said. Here is Freeman upon hearing garbage time.
Please don't call it garbage time to me.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah. Every play is important, man. Every single play is important. And Cole's a guy. Here's why I tell you that, because if Cole or any of our guys had the mindset this is garbage time, then they don't understand they're being evaluated the exact same ways that the starters are. And it's important that they have that mindset, because we're going to hold you, our second group, to the standard we hold the first group to. That's the only way to do it. And I know I'm not exactly answering your question, I'll get to it, but our second group on offense played extremely better than they did the week before, and that was a huge challenge. It's not, hey, this is game reps, man. You are not guaranteed a lot of these, so make the most of them. And Cole has done that. When Cole got in the game versus Purdue, he produced. He did a good job, and he is a high motor guy. He plays extremely hard. Him, Elijah, those two guys, Elijah Hughes, play extremely hard, and they're getting better with some technique, their size and stuff like that. But guys that play the game really, really hard usually are rewarded.
Okay, so a couple different things there. The G word, garbage time.
Can't use it.
I mean, if you wanna tick a coach off, I get, I'm on record. I think this came up last week or the week before, Vince, when you were off anyway. Jesse and I were talking about it, and fans refer to it all the time as garbage time.
Yes.
The game is a blowout. You start getting guys in, but just what Marcus Freeman said there, like that playing time means something to everybody. It means something to the players themselves. It's their chance to get out. They don't look at it as garbage time. It's their chance to get out there and show what they can do. And as he said, for the coaches, that's how these guys are going to be evaluated. And in some cases, like Arkansas left their starters out there longer than Notre Dame
the whole time
the other day. Yeah. I don't know what the term needs to be, because so many people do call it garbage time. I don't know. Feels like we need to come up with something better that we can start using when those guys get in there and blow, whether it's blowout time, developmental time. I don't know what it is. What's your thoughts on garbage time?
You call it second team reps is what you call it. No coach calls it garbage time, I can tell you that. So I understand where Marcus Freeman is coming from and why he kind of like winced when he heard that term. And I get it, because that is very contrary to what he's trying to tell his players. He's trying to tell them, like, look, you have an opportunity to get on the field. You show us what you've got. And in that particular example, and look, the basis of the question was good. It was Cole Mullins got in at the end of the game. He played well, and he found himself getting reps.
Or nails on the chalkboard, because
correct,
garbage time was used.
Yeah, because the point is that during that time that he got on the field, it earned him playing time, when the game was still on the line. And so
exactly,
that's actually a good thing. That's something that you do want to highlight. It just wasn't asked very well, because you don't want to use that term. But yeah, it's like second team reps.
He did say reps. For lack of a better term, he could, it's like he couldn't come up with
he needed to do a better job of coming up with a better term.
I guess so.
But yeah, I thought that was actually pretty funny. That all went down the way it did. Not gonna lie, it was pretty good.
As for Mullins itself, like, how important is it? Not just not necessarily just for him, but that Notre Dame is maybe gaining another viable option there at defensive tackle.
Well, the defensive line has not played very well. I mean, let's be honest, right? And so if somebody's going to go out there and take advantage of their opportunity and play well, then they deserve an opportunity, when it means something. And Notre Dame is clearly showing that, hey, man, there's some jobs open. There's opportunities here for guys. If you're going to play well, if you're going to take advantage of the time that you have on the field, you're going to get rewarded when it matters. And I think that's a really, really good precedent to set for Notre Dame specifically, because, you know, you get into a situation like this and we know that there's certain positions that aren't playing well. And, you know, as a parent, as a player, you know, as a parent of a player who's not playing, you know, you always hear, well, my kid probably wouldn't do any worse, you know, that kind of stuff. Right.
Oh, no, I've never heard that before.
I'm sure you haven't as a coach. You've never heard that before. That's my favorite argument, by the way, from a parent. But this at least shows where if I am a parent of a kid that's not playing, and I was recently, it's like, hey, man, you just got to keep going to practice and doing your thing. Take advantage of every opportunity that you get, and you never know what's going to happen. There's proof in the pudding right there, you know, with Cole Mullins. So
the only thing, one, I do think it's important. Two, the only thing I would push back a little bit on your assessment of the defensive line, I still think they've played pretty well against the run. It has been
I agree.
Pass rush.
No, I agree with that.
They've got to pick it up. Like specifically, Rubio has been really good, really physical. Elijah Hughes has given him some good things. Dawson has given him some good things in flashes, but they've just got to be
they got to
better.
Get
pass rush has got to get, that's where that's like the whole we want to play more zone, obviously, is what they're saying. If you're going to do that, those four guys have got to figure out ways to get there without blitzing. You know, that's part of the deal. It's just what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think it can do nothing but help this group if Mullins is part of the mix there as well. Let's take a timeout for the top of the hour. When we come back, rapid fire, hour number 2. It's on the way. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We're here for hour number 2. Glad to have you with us. I'm Sean Stiers along with Vince D'Addario. The 6 o'clock hour, Vince, means one thing and one thing only. It's rapid fire time.
Let's go, babe. It's my first rapid fire in quite some time.
It is.
So I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm excited.
All right. So the Irish led 42-13 at halftime Saturday. They had the ball to start the second half. They were about to go 3 and out, but they used the fake punt that saw Jordan Faison throw to Malachi Fields for a 40-yard completion. Marcus Freeman talked about that decision today.
In terms of the fake punt, I didn't want to relax. Like we had to come out of that locker room with an aggression no different than the first half. There's no lead that's comfortable. And so when we went 3 and out, I think on that first drive, I felt like it was the right time to send a message to our team. This was about our team that, hey, this is something we worked on. Let's go execute it. And that also is something on film for the next opponents, right? I'm not even thinking about this opponent, but I'm thinking about I want to make sure the next couple opponents see that. And it could really make them think deeply about how they want to attack our punt unit. So that's what went into that decision-making. We didn't get any points off of it, but it was a mindset that we have to be aggressive. There is no take your foot off the accelerator. This is what we're doing, and they executed it well.
All right, so there's Marcus Freeman on that fake punt Saturday. He was asked the question in the context of, did it come up with Sam Pittman? Did Pittman say anything afterwards since the score? Again, it was 42-13 at the time. Freeman did say that Pittman didn't say anything about it. What did you think of the whole thing, Vince, the decision to go with that fake punt there early in the second half, up by so much?
It was surprising. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit taken aback with the fact that they went with the fake punt, but I understand the reasoning behind it too. You practice these things, eventually you got to use them.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that he's thinking beyond this game and like putting something on film so that other teams have to respect it and they have to maybe adjust a little bit of what they do in their punt coverage or their punt return coverage, right? I like that. Because that could open up some other things that they want to do with the punt team. It takes pressure off the punter when they're actually punting because you can't just pin your ears back and come after the punter if you have to worry about some of these fakes and, some of these different things that Notre Dame does. So I like the fact that he's thinking more macro than micro.
Yeah.
You know what? Sam Pittman's not going to complain about a fake punt in his house. You're an SEC team. This is the away team kicking your tail.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You got to take your medicine sometimes too. Like, he's not going to say anything about that.
And look, you're up by, what is that, 29, I guess 29 point, but still, like, teams have come back from big deficits before. This is the first drive of the second half, wasn't it? Alabama blew a 28-0 lead against Georgia last year. Notre Dame has blown a 30-point lead in its history before to Tennessee. Think crazier things have happened. So, like, you don't just stop playing your game, even though, again, it felt like offensively they took the foot off the gas a little bit more in the second half. And as Stymie says in the YouTube chat, beautiful play, horrendous follow-up series of play calls. It was a little bit of that. But, yeah, I mean, and this is – we talked coming into the season about, like, fake punts and fake kicks and all these different things. And this is kind of the time that these things start happening now because Marty Biagi, again, like going back to game film, he's got 3 to 4 games now, and it's going to continue to grow the library of what he sees against these different teams. Yep. He knows what the fronts look like. He knows what the looks are like and what he might be able to do and use some of these different things. And what Marcus Freeman said, like, establish a tone. Tell your team, look, okay, looks like a 3 and out, but we're not going to settle for that. We're in our own territory. We're going to use this. And they obviously hit it big. What I was expecting, honestly, was for the ESPN TV crew to say, by the way, Jordan Faison was a high school quarterback, so he should be able to throw a ball.
Didn't even touch it. Like that's like a grapefruit. You know what I mean? A watermelon across home plate. Like, come on, man.
For you. Yeah, exactly. Threw it on the run, like
it's a good throw.
Yeah, great throw. What? And another great Marty Biagi
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That scientist in there doing his thing. So I love it, and we're going to see more of it. And as Marcus Freeman says, you're sending a message to the rest of your opponents, like, you better be prepared because we're going to hit you at some point, and good luck being ready for it. So I like it on a lot of different levels.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was at a game on Saturday where it was 44-0 was the final score, and the team that was winning ran the swinging gate for an extra point. They threw that out there. They ran a fake punt. Like, this is the time of year where you start putting things on film. So other teams have to think about it. Yeah, that's absolutely what you do. It's not necessarily to win the game. It's not necessarily to gain a competitive advantage in that moment, but it's about putting things on film to make guys think about, well, shoot, they might do this or they might do that. So it makes a lot of sense.
Congratulations to Brady YG111. He is the first Boise troll of the week. Hello, Brady. Welcome to the show. All right, he's calling for a Boise win this week. Okay.
He thinks Boise is going to put 42 up on Notre Dame.
That monstrous Boise State offense. Okay. We'll see. Game Saturday.
Yeah, man. Just,
talking on Monday doesn't do anything for anybody. Come back next Monday.
Correct.
Win or lose, come back next Monday if you got the cojones to come with it. Like, if you got the stones to talk right now, win or lose, be here next Monday. We'll welcome you to the show. Win or lose.
Just like Penn State fan was supposed to come back today, and I haven't seen him in the chat.
Invited him back. He didn't. He came in bragging about 4-0 or 3-0 and all that different stuff going into last week. I said, come back Monday,
and we'll talk.
Win or lose.
Right.
I don't see Penn State guy here, so.
No. That's a shame.
He's our longtime troll.
I hope Brady comes back. And if Boise State ends up beating Notre Dame, that'll be a great conversation for us to have with Brady. But if they don't, then let's have another great conversation. Like, we're all equal opportunity here, Sean.
We are. We give everybody a chance. Yeah. Werewolf in the YouTube chat says Radio Guys got it.
That's good.
I assume he's talking about the phase on.
They are homers.
I would hope so. Tony and Ryan.
Yeah.
They're like, they are the Notre Dame radio guys.
They should.
You would hope that they would hit it, and they did, apparently.
Yeah. Did the Arkansas radio guys get it? That's the next question.
Yeah.
I believe Malachi was also a quarterback as well. So it was like former QB to former QB. So there you go. So let's dig deep here.
Fill in the blank. Arkansas firing head coach Sam Pittman after Notre Dame's lopsided win was blank.
Has nothing to do with Notre Dame. Like, that axe was coming regardless, and it's a shame. But they also wrote him a $10 million check to walk out the door. So I don't really feel that bad for him. I will say.
Did you hear about his buyout? Like, if he was above the way his buyout was written, if he was above 500, he got like the almost 10 million. If it was below 500, it was maybe half of that or something.
Oh,
like
really?
That.
So they waited until
I think it was 2 games over 500 since like X point. Yeah, he got a little bit more cash.
Well. You know what? Good for him. Like, all these coaches, they're making buku dollars, man. And they know, like, for the most part, like 90% of these coaches that take these jobs, you're going to get fired. Like, that's a given.
I'll just say this though, Vince. Here's where I question Sam Pittman right off the bat. You won the coin toss. You didn't defer. You took the ball. You drive to the 21. It's 4th and 3, and you kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Like, that's your mindset. You kick a field goal. You think that field goals are going to, like, what Notre Dame's offense has done. Like, you're settling for 3 points right away. Like, send a message to your team. Like, you're in this thing to win. Field goals are not the right mentality. And I think that obviously the fan base had checked out on him. They literally checked out on Arkansas at halftime. So
I have never seen a stadium that empty. Like, they had those seats behind one of the end zones. It was like connected to probably the indoor facility or whatever. And there was like 10 people in those stands at the beginning of the third quarter. I mean, they just completely bailed. And it was a sellout, Sean. It was a sellout, and it was maybe half full after halftime. You know what? I give Arkansas fans a lot of credit, because a lot of people talk about, making statements with their money or making statements with their presence, and those kinds of things. And it never really happens. Arkansas did it. Like, they're like, we're out. I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah. Fourth head coach to be canned now in the first month of the season.
That's a lot.
I know.
That's a lot in a month.
He'd obviously been on the hot seat for a while. He saved
True.
himself last year, came into this year on the hot seat. And again, I don't feel like at this point, what, 5+ years in, I just don't think that mentality of, okay, let's kick a field goal at the end of this first drive. I feel like
he had to be playing, like he had to be coaching that game like there was no tomorrow, which
exactly
not being one.
Yeah.
You had to coach that way, and that was not the case.
Nope.
So
exactly.
He knew.
Yep. So Marcus Freeman was asked after the Arkansas win about how CJ Carr handles success. Here is what Freeman said.
I think there's very few people that you come in contact with that are blessed with that just leadership, competitive trait. I'm talking like not normal, very few people have that competitive trait, like that's so competitive that like they just want to find. Listen, here's what the thing is with CJ. It's more important for us to win than it is for him to play well, right? Like that's his mindset. He's so competitive. I want to do whatever it takes to make sure this offense performs well and we win. That's more important than how many yards I throw for and, how many receptions and all those different things. It's like, I want to do whatever it takes to win. And he's one of those rare individuals, man, that is just ultra competitive. And I think that's the driving force to his preparation and the way he practices.
Vince, that says what to you?
That says that Marcus Freeman is a fanboy of CJ Carr. No, I'm kidding. It says to me that Marcus Freeman understands that, yes, he has talent, and he's probably run across a lot of guys with talent over his coaching career. But what separates him from a lot of other guys is his preparation. And you can tell that. And we've told this story before. I think it was spring ball when we were in the indoor facility and they're running, a team and all of this different stuff. And they've got the giant board, on the wall that shows the very play that you just ran. It shows it as a replay in like an all 22 format. And it's just constant, right? And he threw a pass and it was actually, I can't remember if it was complete or incomplete. Doesn't matter. He's immediately staring at that board, watching to see if he made the right read, if all of those different things. Like you could see his head snap to the board. And so like his preparation is just different than a lot of guys that are out there. And you can attribute it to the fact that, his dad was a college football player. His grandpa was a head coach, all of those, the familial football family, all of those different things.
Mm-hmm.
But his preparation is unmatched, and that is going to be the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen talent wasted before by guys that do not prepare, right?
Yeah.
And he prepares, man. And when he comes in and he talks in a press conference after the fact, like CJ Carr, you're talking to like a football savant. Like he knows exactly what you're talking about, can walk you through the play, all these different things. He's just different in that regard. Yes, ton of talent. We all know that. He can spin it. He can drop it where it needs to go, all of those things. But he's got it up here too.
Yeah, and that's when you heard those things that Marcus Freeman was saying about him, like his competitiveness and not caring about the numbers and all. Like this is what I'm talking about when I say stats are for losers. Now I obviously don't literally think that no stats matter. Stats give us a broad picture of how a team is doing. National stats rankings give us, like an idea of how a team stacks up against other teams in the rest of the country and all that kind of stuff. But like here are a couple of stats that actually matter for a quarterback. How many touchdown drives do you lead your team to? Do you have more points than the other team at the end of the game? How infrequently do you turn the ball over? Like the fewer turnovers you have, like that's a very important stat, I think. CJ Carr led 7 touchdown drives against Arkansas and didn't turn the ball over against the Razorbacks. Like his game obviously looks different than Riley Leonard's game. But the things that Marcus Freeman was saying about CJ Carr, like you can apply that to both of those guys. It's the same with guys like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman. Winning matters and caring about winning matters. And all those things that you were talking about, like all of that stuff matters. And again, as we've been talking about, it's just scary to think where this offense can continue to go, considering this guy has only played 4 games so far in his career.
I know. We're gonna get spoiled. Is what's gonna happen. We're gonna get spoiled watching CJ Carr over the next 2 years, and enjoy it, folks. Like we've said this about other guys that play for Notre Dame. Like, enjoy it while you can. That is the situation here. Enjoy it while you can. Somebody's already talking about him being the first overall pick in the 27 draft. I heard that already.
Yeah, it's out there.
Just enjoy it, man.
Not surprised.
It's not going to be that long.
Joe's asking in the YouTube chat if that is a jab at him. Of course, no, it's not a jab at you. I'm just, like clarifying when I say that. One, I'm obviously kind of joking when I say it, but at the same time, it's just like this is what I mean. Like, just to clarify when I say that. Again, I'm not saying no stats matter. There are certain things that matters. Winning and losing matters. Taking, all those different things, like being competitive the way, and I get that as well. Joe, he says he was joking as well. We can't always tell just by reading.
This is true
on the thing, though, right? Let's take a timeout. When we come back, we've got more rapid fire. There were other press conferences this weekend, including Mike Elko had one after his game. We'll hear some of his comments and more. We'll talk about some of the other games around college football this week and many more things. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues. Rapid fire in the second hour of the show with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. Mike Elko.
Oh, this was great.
Oh, man. So Texas A&M beats Auburn 16-10 Saturday. They're 4-0 now, the Aggies are. Head coach Mike Elko got a question in his post-game press conference that he didn't like. Here is his response.
Do you want to ask a question about like us being 4-0 for the first time since 2016, or how did the defense bounce back, or how about you held them to 176 yards on offense and you had 5 sacks and they were 0 for 12 on third down and 0 for 2 on fourth down and you got the return game going again? Like, I don't mean to sound like someone else, but my gosh, will you guys stop being so dreadful and gloomy? Well, we're only halfway through this. Yeah. Next one.
All right. So there you go. Vince, what do you think of Elko's response?
I just love the shot that he took. That's the best part of the whole thing.
I mean, everyone associated with Notre Dame went, oh, he's talking about Brian Kelly.
It was fantastic. I mean, it was a subtle shot. Didn't say his name. He just threw it out there. And it's like a when you know kind of a situation. So I thought that was great. But like, look, he's not wrong. They're 4-0. Like, give him his flowers. Let's talk about it. But like, at the same time, I don't know what the question was because I've heard that response.
I think it had something to do with the offense, because they only scored 16 points.
Gotcha.
Basically. Yeah.
But those are questions you got to answer, dog. Like, that's,
Right. This is not a Wendy's, sir. This is not your coach's show.
Right.
Like, you're going to get, it's a press conference. You're going to get questions. You don't get to pick the ones that they're going to ask you. And the fact that they had scored over 40 points in their first 3 games. And then now Auburn's got a pretty good defense, but they only scored 16 points, and the guy at the end was like, well, we're only halfway through this. We've still got a chance to ask other questions. And I think we all appreciated the shot. And I know that Mike Elko was trying to have fun with it, but like,
right.
This is one of the things that I really appreciate about Marcus Freeman, because that there are plenty of questions that he stands up there and he doesn't like either, but you don't hear him do this. You don't hear him do the Brian Kelly where he's, like going right back out, literally, like being combative about the questions, like he understands the way the defense played those first few games. He doesn't like it any more than anybody else. You might not sort of like the political way that Freeman is answering a lot of those questions, but I appreciate the fact that he's not doing this, like throwing the question back at the people asking it, and again, I understand Elko is having fun with it, but it's like, as they say, there's a little truth in every joke. He obviously didn't like it. It's like pepper me with praise after we just won and we went 4-0. Okay. Wait for your coach's show and you'll get that kind of stuff, Mike.
Yeah. 100%. Like, you're going to get asked about your offense because they didn't play very well.
Yeah.
Talk about it. And again, we've talked about this.
As long as you don't say talk about it when you're asking the question.
Yeah, that's true. But like, we all the time, when you're a coach, when you're an analyst or whatever, it's a lot easier to talk about the negatives when you're coming off of a win. So enjoy talking about these negatives coming and being 4-0.
Great point.
That's the thing for me.
Great point. Because, like, I saw Carter Carls, who covers Texas A&M, and also used to cover Notre Dame. I saw him retweet. He was saying, "Oh, I don't know if he was necessarily talking about Brian Kelly." Come on, he was talking about Brian Kelly.
Come on, Carter.
Like everyone, like the fact that you even had to say. I mean, I think we all know, because look, Brian Kelly was just doing this a couple of weeks ago and being even more combative about it with the reporter. Now he apologized and all that stuff, but that's what Brian Kelly does. And guess what?
Correct.
They lost to Ole Miss, and the question that was asked was pretty relevant because their offense was not very good. Speaking of which, Vince, results from the weekend. What was your favorite non-Notre Dame related result of the weekend? You have many to choose from, Mr. Schadenfreude.
What did you call me?
Mr. Schadenfreude.
What is that?
Taking pleasure in the misery of others.
100%.
Yes.
100%. So I will take out of the mix my kid making his collegiate debut. I will take that out of the mix because clearly that is number one.
Okay.
But for purposes of this show, it's clearly Brian Kelly and LSU losing that game. Like, clearly that was one of the best parts of the weekend. I mean, that was just a joy to watch. It was a joy to watch. And just the way that it went down and the overtime. And honestly, I don't know. Or wait, did theirs go to overtime?
Whose?
The LSU. Did that one go to overtime? I can't remember now. All these games are starting to run together. Okay, that was the Penn State game. Look, watching Penn State lose, glorious. Watching LSU lose, glorious. Watching Notre Dame just whip around Arkansas, glorious. Hillsdale, glorious. All of these things were great. It's always going to be LSU. That's always going to be the number one thing. I will revel in their misery like a warm shower. I mean, it just feels so good.
Ole Miss all the way up to number 4 in the rankings this week. And no, it did not go to overtime. I didn't think it. It was a 5.
I didn't think so. They were running together some of those games. It was a kind of a crazy Saturday, but gosh, watching them lose was
interesting. By the way, that Ole Miss is number 4. By the way, right now they're 5-0, but I mean Arkansas and Kentucky are their 2 previous best wins. You know, like, I don't know, so like going back to who'd you beat and all this different kind of stuff. People sure seem to think Ole Miss is pretty good. And that Ole Miss Arkansas game came right down to the wire itself. They were both scoring a lot of points.
No doubt.
I was watching that IU game, Josh, and oh man, I was like, does Kurt Cignetti's face, does it always look like the blood has completely rushed? Like there's zero color in his face. His cheeks look bone white the whole fourth quarter, and it was not cold out there, so it's not like he was freezing or anything.
I really want IU to lose again. I agree with you, Josh. That would have put the icing on the cake of the entire Saturday slate for me if IU would have lost. And I know there's a lot of IU fans around here, and I apologize to all of you, but Cignetti has just gone a little too far for me. I just can't stand him. I just cannot stand him right now. So I want him to lose. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I had my fingers crossed, and I'm sure we've got some IU fans,
that's great. That's awesome. Basketball season will be here soon.
We're just not in on Cignetti. That's just where it is.
Well, they got a tough road to hoe here coming up. I mean, they only won by 5 against Iowa, and now they got to go to Oregon. They have a bye week, and then they go to Oregon. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the whole James Franklin, like it's an easy narrative. I get that, but it was a great competitive game, and they came back, and obviously that game did go to overtime. But the man is now 4-21 as head coach at Penn State against top 10 teams. 4-21 in the last 9 years. His only 2 wins over top 10 teams came in the Rose Bowl against Utah a couple years ago when Cam Rising, the Utah quarterback, was out, and last year in the college football playoff against Boise State. That is it in the last 9 years against top 10 teams. And he had this at home. Oh, by the way, they wore all this white and they still lost. Exactly. All we heard about was the whiteout. No, the whiteout. I'm sick of hearing about whiteouts. They still lost.
Every analyst, because I watched some of like the pregame stuff, because it was on NBC and all this other stuff, and all of these analysts who had picked against Penn State leading into it, and they're like, "Oh, now that we're here and we're in this environment, I don't know how Penn State lose." Like, there's such homers as far as like, "Oh my God, this is amazing here. How can you pick against Penn State?" Well, easily, because it was a big game, and they're not good in big games.
You think white T-shirts are intimidating to the visiting team
that are wearing white
T-shirts on? We should run scared.
And the visiting team is wearing white.
The visiting team is wearing white. Yes.
Like, that's the other piece of it to me. I will never understand the whiteout for Penn State, and they don't wear white. No. You can dictate what you wear. And when they wear their white jerseys, they also wear white pants, and they've got white helmets. Like, white out your team too.
Right.
I don't get
that. If you're gonna ask the fans to white out, why aren't you wearing all white when you're Penn State at home? Especially considering you've got white helmets. You can be white from top to bottom.
Makes
no
zero sense. Zero. But
go figure. Were you happy to see USC? I realize USC losing, like,
it's a tough one
when you look at it, because they were 4-0, and of course they were, like, really kind of full of themselves about being 4-0. And then Lincoln Riley, we talked about it on Friday, making all the excuses. Oh, we had to play the last game set, last week, and now we've got to play the earliest game this week, and we're on the road at Illinois, and blah blah blah. They get up by 17. They end up losing to Illinois, or they were down by 17 rather. They rally back, but then they still end up losing.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Because you don't want to see them win, because I just don't like USC, and I like to see them miserable as well. But you want them to win to boost up your resume if you're Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So I get all of those factors. At the end of the day, I want them to lose. I'm sorry. I will never root for USC. I want them to lose. I enjoyed the fact that they lost. They announced it at the Hillsdale game. People were cheering, which I thought was hilarious. I will never root for them. I don't want them to win. I'm sorry. Like, here, my whole thought process, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow. Would it help Notre Dame if USC had a number in front of their name? Yes, it absolutely would. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. 10 wins is going to be enough to get them into the playoff. Now, you can have an argument about seeding, and we can have that argument tomorrow when we talk about it. But you're going to get into the playoff. You control your own destiny, in my personal opinion. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't. So I want them to lose.
I can live with that. But again, like Lincoln Riley, little BK Jr. making excuses before the game is like sets it up going in about, we've got here's the excuse if this doesn't work out for us. It's like, why would you send that message to your team? Exactly. Why would you do that? Something else again, that like Marcus Freeman, like, it's so nice not to hear all these excuses that we used to hear from Brian Kelly. Whether it's before or after or anything else, it's like setting yourself up to have this fallback excuse. Like, just again, sending the complete wrong message to your team going into that. Like, that's supposed to be, this is the guy who's going to rebuild and revitalize USC football. A guy who's just tossing out excuses left and right.
Look, you and I have both been head coaches. And you take whatever you can, whatever's happening around you, you take it and you spin it to help your team. You don't go and complain about things that are completely out of your control. Like, you don't, that's a waste of your time. That's a waste of your energy. He should have taken that information, gone back to his team, and be like, look, nobody else in the country has to do what they're asking you to do. You're better than that. You are going to go out there and you're going to dominate and all of those different things. Like, that's how you take that information and use it as a positive to your team. It's not like his kids had to do a close open where you close, the restaurant the night before and then you have to open it up the next day. There was a week in between.
And listen, the sun was probably still shining in Los Angeles when the plane landed after getting home from Illinois. Unlike, we talked about this, Michigan State, when they had to fly back from that 11 p.m. Eastern time game in Los Angeles, they probably got home around 7 or 8 in the morning. The sun is coming up when Michigan State got home.
Correct.
In their game. Who had it worse? USC
exactly
going from that, or Michigan State coming home from that?
100%.
Come on.
Michigan State started at 11 o'clock their own time.
Yeah.
That's what time that game started.
Yeah. And think about their fans staying up till 2 a.m. watching that game.
Correct. And they didn't have to travel back, on a plane immediately following the game. So, like, cry me a river, dude. This is the main reason. Well, not the main reason. It's one of the many reasons that I will not root for USC to win. I cannot root for that imbecile to win after he goes out and complains about start times. I can't do it.
More Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly. Some shade coming up from the guy down there in Mississippi. That's coming up next when we conclude Rapid Fire and Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down Budweiser's weekday sports beat, irishbreakdown.com, rapid fire with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. So, Vince, I want you to fill in the blank on this one. After beating LSU Saturday, Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin tweeting a photo from his scouting report with a quote highlighted from LSU head coach Brian Kelly saying, quote, "We're going to keep that Magnolia trophy right here in Baton Rouge, right where it deserves to be," end quote, is blank.
Old school, I think, is the best way to play. It's old school, like, the whole bulletin board material and all that kind of thing. But now I will say this, and you might want to hit the record button because I'm going to say something nice about Brian Kelly. But like, he took it from the coach's show. Like, it's supposed to be
like talking to your fan base.
Correct. He's probably in a restaurant someplace with surrounded by LSU fans. Like, what do you want him to say? You know what I mean?
Hey, coach, what's going to happen this weekend?
Right. What are you going to do with that Magnolia trophy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our family going to keep it right here.
Or maybe they're talking like this down there. I don't know.
But like, I have no problem with him saying that on his coach's show. So it's Lane Kiffin kind of dug deep for that one. And I don't know that his guys needed that kind of motivation, but that's Lane Kiffin. So, you know what? So be it. So be it.
Yeah. To an extent, I understand what you're saying about coach's show and all that, but everything is national now. Everything,
you're not wrong.
Everything finds the internet. It's like, I'm surprised that there wasn't more of it circulating, and maybe there was down in those circles down there, but leave it to Lane Kiffin to find that little piece of information and use it as a piece of, use it as a motivator. Last page, I think it looked like it was the last page of the scouting report. Again, he took a shot of it and posted it out there. You just like, you obviously want to say those things to your team and make sure that your team has the confidence that that's what you're going to go out there and do, but limit the number of things that you can actually let your opponent use for motivation, I think is probably the lesson. And Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin appear, like, publicly anyway, they appear to get along pretty good, but Lane never has any issues. Just throwing a jab or two back at old BK whenever he gets the opportunity. Like that.
And I love the fact that that is a top priority for a few different people across the country. I do get a kick out of that. Very much so. So I'm down with it. Believe me, I'm riding the Kiffin train right now as far as his pettiness is concerned. He and I are very similar when it comes to pettiness. So I'm good.
I'm shocked. Vince, the Bears have won 2 in a row. Scale of 1 to 10. How you feeling right now?
Surprised, for sure, because they did not play very well this past Sunday. That's for sure. And somehow they squeaked out a win by a point because that's
the kind of game that they usually lose. Like 100%, the way they played.
100%. Look, I like everything about this Bears team except for the quarterback. I'm on record. It's not going to change. He played the game of his life a week ago against the Cowboys. I mean, the game of his life. He came back down to earth a little bit, this past Sunday, played a little bit more like himself. And so they needed a few different things to happen their wake. I mean, they were moving the ball between the 20s and they could not get it in the end zone. Tons of field goals to start off the game. They just could not finish off drives. But 2-0 in the last 2 weeks. Okay. That means they're 2-2, I think now, or I think they're back to even. So
they're right in there.
They're in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd be feeling pretty good if I was a Bears fan. Like, again, they didn't play great, but they went on the road. They picked up a win. You look at the Packers. I think the Packers have a lot more questions than like the first couple of weeks. The Packers defense looked like it was just a world beater. And all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, they have looked a lot more vulnerable, especially the other night. And again, like, if I combine this with my whole Cowboys thing, like, I'm watching – I watched a little bit of the Bears game. My daughter was watching the Bears game. I've got the ticket, so I was watching Chiefs Ravens in the other room adjacent for a little while, and then that game just got ugly. And then Lamar Jackson went out, and it wasn't worth watching anymore. I go back, so I'm watching the end of the Bears game, and it's like, man, they managed to freaking do it. And in the meantime, I just gotta sit through. I thought that I was going to basically stay up until midnight, and my best case scenario was going to be they would lose by a field goal or something like that. Instead, they go to overtime and they frickin' tie. And again, I couldn't have felt worse about the tie and the way the tie ended up happening.
No doubt. I as I was cutting the grass yesterday, I'm kind of doing it in pieces. But anyway, I was cutting the grass yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, how can the Bears manage to get the number 1 overall pick in 27? Like, that is what's going through my head. That's where I'm at right now, Sean.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
where I'm at.
There you go.
So if I have to suffer the next 2 years, let's do it.
All right. We're going to have to wrap it up with that. We'll have, of course, a lot more on tomorrow's show, Notre Dame related, and otherwise, Vince will be back as well. So we've got that coming up tomorrow. Vince, good to see you. Glad we got the rapid fire in. For Vince, I'm Sean. We will talk to you tomorrow. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.